Because you have to think for a situation, right? One or two things will happen to her when she does that. Either she'll be killed, or she'll be kicked out of the palace and lose all the luxurious life, her wealth, and become a poor person on the streets. Now both choices are great, huh? Both choices are what? Hey Sheikh, come on, wake up with me, guys. Both choices are what? Hard, they're tough. But what did she didn't care? But what made her make that choice? Iman. It's that Iman. I'm just trying to point out how much Iman can give a person strength. How much it can make them have courage. Because all they care about is who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's that level of Iman that makes everything around you not there. It makes your focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His pleasure, that you're distracted from everything else. That you're willing to sacrifice and suffer the pain because in your eyesight it is nothing compared to the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so Fir'aun obviously did not leave her as it is, but rather he tortured her, it says, for 3 days. Right? He ordered his soldiers, and you can imagine this, you can imagine the humiliation she's going through, but she's willing to withstand, to tie her from her arms and her feet, to put her in the desert, to put a boulder, a huge rock on top of her, and not give her water, and every single day they would go and ask her, are you going to disbelieve? And she would refuse. And in the end, Fir'aun told his soldier to go on the highest of places and to drop a rock on her head, and to ask her, are you going to leave this religion or not? And if she refuses, to drop it. And what did she do? She made that dua. رَبِّ ابْنِ لِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. She chose to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than to be close to Fir'aun. She chose a palace with Allah than her worldly palace. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewarded her by showing her her house before that rock hit her head. By taking her life before that rock hit her head. But I'm just trying to point out that maybe perhaps what is causing that two-face that sometimes we experience, that our children experience, that the youth, is that lack of Iman that we have to build. And that happens by constant reminder. That happens by us, right, practicing religion properly. By nurturing our children from their young to instill in them that Iman, that being watchful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? To make them do the act because they want to remind them of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Keep reminding, this is for who? For Allah. You want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah likes this, Allah does not like this. Right? This is how we should do it. Not, this is bad, this is wrong, right? Because in the end they'll question you, why is it wrong? Right? We get that question a lot, right? Why is it wrong? So what's going to happen? Why is it, why my friends are doing it. Are they wrong? Yes, they're wrong. Right? But you don't bring it that aspect. You say this does not please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, they're doing something that is considered haram. And so we have to nurture that. Right? Now, I think I went overboard with what I want to, kind of time I want to take. And I think it's just sharh already. So I'm going to stop over here. Jazakallah for staying awake. And for staying behind. And for inviting me. SubhanAllah behind. No, not anymore.
Yeah, you have.
What is this? Jazakumullah.
The breakfast.
Breakfast is not in 10 minutes? What kind of service is this? Alright. But no, I'm going to stop here actually, right? Well, we can continue on, but it's still the same message, right? Once again, you hear this, like even the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, right? Think about them in Mecca. At the time when they're in Mecca. Wallahi, their environment is so much worse than the environment they were in. You want to talk about Islamophobia? Talk about them. Right? You want to talk about bad friends? Talk about them. Abu Talib, what made him remain as a non-Muslim? His friends. Even though he did believe the Prophet ﷺ, even though he knew what is right. But it's that peer pressure. Okay? You talk about being a minority? Talk about Mecca. But still, they still resisted. Why? It is that factor of Iman. But we're going to have to look at what is it that made them have that belief. Yes, it was one of the important factor is the leadership of the Prophet ﷺ, which means that we need a role model. We have to give ourselves and our family a role model to look up to. Right? One of the best ways to install Iman is to mention the story of the Prophet ﷺ, the stories of the Sahaba, especially the young Sahaba, how they were. Ali ibn Abi Talib, when he became a Muslim at 10 years old, consciously and chose to be with the Prophet ﷺ, right? Abdullah ibn Abbas, 13 years old, he was walking around the Prophet ﷺ trying to learn. All these stories are beautiful. Asma, right, 16 years old when she became Muslim and she persevered and did for Islam. beautiful stories, and most people don't realize that the ones who carried the brunt end of this religion, really carried it on their shoulder, did the work, were the young. Yes, we do remember the old ones. Obviously they're the wise, the wisdom, the guides, right? But the ones who did the work, a lot of them were the younger ones. Tell them the stories of the Sahaba. This will give them a role model, instill Islam into them. Give them pride. This is one thing we can do. And so it's important to discuss that Meccan period. So this is one thing, obviously leadership. But the other thing that made them strong were the verses they would recite. They lived through those verses. So it's important for us when we read the Quran, when we try to push our children to memorize the Quran, not just that, but to really understand it. And so for them to understand it, we ourselves need to live it and understand it. Now what I'm trying to say is that we have a bit of a way, right, a long way, perhaps, or some effort we need to put to ourselves invest in learning our religion. Because I have to be honest, as a community, we hardly have the minimum basis of education we need in Islam. We put more emphasis on secular education than Islamic education, right? They're both important. If you have to pick between one, guess which one you should pick? The Islamic one. Because if you lose this world, at least you still have the hereafter, right? But we still have a minimum. I'm not saying to make them a scholar, but at least that minimum they need to survive in the environment that we live in. And so the Quran, when it's revealed, when the Prophet ﷺ is talking to them, right? He's giving them these, they're living the spirituality of it. That's an important factor. We're talking about Iman, the spirituality. We need to teach these children how to understand that spirituality and practice it. Right? So that's a second factor. Right? And it's really important. So with leadership, the Quran itself, but even form that brotherhood. They had the beautiful network that we're living through this together. And we can form this, even if it required creating a pseudo-environment. So we have an outer environment, but create your own environment as necessary. Right? Find family friends that are like you, similar-minded, with children of you, same children of you, or like you. Form that network of family that we need to support. Brothers, at the back, you're actually starting to distract me with your talk. Yeah, ikhwa. I actually can hear you from here. For the coffee. Who brought the coffee? Other side? Rashwa. It's good. Yes, sir.
So, brother, you said in the beginning we need to find a solution. So we just need to know that there is no one single magic solution to this problem.
Oh yeah, no, there is. No. There is a main solution.
Right.
But achieving it is multiple, it's factorial. So the main problem is Iman. Now, for each one is countered. So for each problem has a solution. So for example, if the child's two-face is because of misconception, right? The way to increase his Iman is knowledge. Knowledge is a way to increase Iman. Is that right? Yes. I'm just giving you an example. So achieving that Iman is multifactorial, multiple different ways to do it, which I guarantee you will address all the issues that are removing that Iman factor.
Yeah, right, but subhanAllah, even adults, not just children.
Even what? Adults, yes.
Not just children, with other factors like environment, could fall into mistakes, even with Iman, and they go back. Iman helps to go back.
Exactly. So
but,
here is yes.
Can I
go ahead?
So there's two things I want to bring up, which is you already mentioned them in a way of course. One thing is we need to know who we are dealing with. I cannot treat a 12 years old child the same way I treat 45 years old adult. Sometimes we misses on that this child, maybe it's okay for him to have fun. Maybe it's okay for him to play. Maybe it's okay for him to...
Yeah, Sheikh, so it's okay for an adult to have fun.
Right, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Not in the Muslim community.
Yeah, Sheikh, sa'a wa sa'a, right?
Right, but not...
You know.
The second thing is that we have to find alternatives. فقه البدائل, فقه الأولويات.
طيب, Sheikh, can I stop you here? No, can I stop you here? This is going beyond what I'm trying to relate. This is all of means and ways that we can think of to create that environment that we're talking about. I'm giving you the key. Now how to get there is up to you as a community. All I'm saying is you need to create an environment that nurtures the Iman. How do you do it? If you need alternatives, yes, prepare those alternatives. Now those are all means, they're not the purpose. Right? What is holding us...
Sometimes, like I have a 9-year-old child, right? This is my purpose, is to increase his Iman, his knowledge, Islamic knowledge, and I'll be 100% so strict on that child, thinking I am increasing his knowledge, I'm increasing his Iman, when I'm preventing him from actually being that 9-year-old child. So I'm thinking I'm increasing his Iman when I'm really putting so much laws, stuffing so much laws in his...
That is true, Sheikh. Now, once I understand, but what I'm trying to relate is that this is not a parenting workshop. This is not how to properly install. I'm giving you the key, right? It's the same thing as I tell a person, you need to learn biology. Now here we have different teachers, different styles, the education style. This is when it comes in. I'm telling you important in biology, I'm giving you the key. I'm not telling you how to learn it, right? How to implement the right teaching skills. This, if it requires us to take parenting classes to do that, do that. If it requires ourselves to go through it, do that. Now once again, all you're talking about is just the means how to achieve it, right? You're right. Wallah, you're absolutely right, right? One of the things that pushes the kids away is the amount of pressure that we put on them inappropriately. That is true, right? Now I don't want people walking out of here as like, no, yes, this is the key to it, but you have to, once again, there's wisdom. The Prophet ﷺ had applied wisdom in this process. Right? Once again, the least of it is leniency, right? ما دخل الرفق في شيء إلا زانه, right? Like, rifq, leniency does not enter anything except that it decorates, it beautifies it, right? And it does not go out of anything except that it makes it ugly. So sometimes being rough, it is necessary in certain situations, but not all the time. Leniency is usually preferred, right? So it's just indirectly addressing your aspect. And yes, to each group is, you give it its limits, but once again, these are all ways to achieve the purpose that we're talking about, and the most way, So I have to say this, right? And I'm going to close by this because I have to go somewhere else too. The means, right, is important. We have an end, but also the means is important how to achieve it. The means has to be correct. The Prophet ﷺ showed us the best of means. Now when we say, talking about increasing the Iman, whether at a different age, the Prophet ﷺ practiced that himself. He practiced it with the young and he practiced it with the old. So he did it with Abu Bakr and Umar the same way he did it with Abdullah ibn Abbas. Is that right? And so how did he treat Abu Bakr Siddiq the same way he treated Abdullah ibn Abbas? No, right? Believe it or not, he was rougher with Abu Bakr Siddiq because he was at a certain stage. And the same adult, he accepted from him something he did not accept from Abu Bakr Siddiq, right? But the end goal is to give each one what their situation is based on their level to achieve that target, right? So the means is important. It's not that it's not important. We have a target, but the means there's a sunnah way of doing it. We need perhaps to learn that way on the long run. Right? جزاكم الله خير سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Making me sit for 10 more minutes.
You stopped at sunset.
Sunset clicked on my watch. Sunrise.
Then the 10 more minutes for
Not my business. Do dhikr. Assalamu alaikum.